about is training technicians and training installers and training instructors. But somewhere along the line, these projects start with architects and engineers, and they're the ones that need the training. So that's another piece of the pie for anybody in here in government or regulatory agencies. That's another big piece of the pie that needs to be addressed right away. So here we are. A number of years ago, I sold a photovoltaic system to Commonwealth Edison, believe it or not, for their museum up near their Zion nuclear plant. It was sold, it was in my shop, it was ready to deliver. I called Denise Besh and I said, Denise, it's here. When do you want me to deliver it? Where do you want it to go? She said, oh, bad news. Well, what? They're closing the museum down. Closing the museum down? Well, you've already paid for this. Where am I supposed to send it? Oh, well, I don't know, we can't use it. Oh, my wife's going to shoot me if I leave it in the garage. Well, I don't know, what can we do with it? And I said, Denise, I have an idea. Why don't you donate it to a nonprofit corporation and get a tax deduction for Commonwealth Edison? Well, that's a good idea. Tim, got any ideas? Sure, Kankakee Community College. So we ended up with this pole-mounted PV system, a standalone battery-based system that was supposed to go at the museum in Zion here, and I have wanted for years to start renewable energy training at KCC, and this is the way it kind of got started with this donation. This is like almost 15 years ago. I just had students in our National Electric Code and Wiring Methods class put this thing up. We installed it on campus, and they had a heck of a lot of fun. And since it's been up, we use this, like little show and tell. Bring the fundamental of electricity students in and show other students a little bit of what's going on with solar. So it's been good, but we have had challenges, and I contend that the challenges we've had exist throughout the Midwest. And I'm glad you brought up chicken and egg, because there it is right there. There really is a chicken and an egg scenario that we're dealing with right now. And I don't want to get into arguing like Nick had to do last night till 3 in the morning with people who disagree, but peak oil is a real issue. And this gentleman before mentioned how energy prices are going to, yes, you right there, Mark, just mentioned how energy prices are going to continue to rise. And this is a real thing. And I don't want to debate it with anybody, because at some other level, at a non-rational level, we all feel some things. We feel that there's an impending energy crisis. We sense the need to create a different energy paradigm. And we can intuit from that. We better start training a workforce. But as Nick pointed out too, go look in the newspaper. Open up to the Wanex in the Midwest. Go look at Kankakee, Illinois. Okay, let me see, I'm looking for a solar installer job. It's like, where the heck are they? They aren't there. And as Nick pointed out, you cannot get technical college administrators to fund starting a program if you're not going to get jobs for the students when they graduate. So this is the conundrum that we're faced with. And we had a similar problem prior that concerned me. And this was a national epidemic. Electronics technology, traditional electronics technology programs all over the country have virtually died. And our electronics technology program a number of years ago was down to 2 students left. They were ready to graduate, no new entrants into the program. The program coordinator for the electronics program, he didn't care. He was in retirement mode. He was ready to go. And the administration said, okay, as soon as he retires, we're closing and canceling the electronics technology program. And I went to a meeting and I said, oh my God, it is a national security crisis. We're going to stop training electronics technology all over the country. What's going on with you guys? And this was a real concern to me. And I started thinking about my desires to create this renewable energy training program, and the realization hit me, oh my gosh, if I can talk them into even starting this, what's it going to do? Is it going to last about 2 or 3 months and they're going to shut it down? Wait, it's a national security crisis. So I had to come up with a different strategy for how we were going to roll out renewable energy training. And this is what we had at the time. We had 3 separate electrically related programs. We had electronics technology, which was dying and getting canned. We had industrial electrical technology, which has always been good and strong in KCC. We had another separate program called industrial machinery maintenance, which was fair enrollment and was somewhat electrically related. That was a real headache for me, because when that guy retired, I inherited all 3 of these programs. Program coordinator for all 3, that meant 3 separate program reviews, 3 separate program budgets, and any individual program, like the electronics technology, was vulnerable to being canned at any time. And so I was reluctant to start the renewable energy program because of that concern, but I started thinking, you know what, a thought went through my head. Not all, but most of renewable energy technology really is the realm of the tradesman. And the tradesman that it's mostly in the realm of is the electrical technician. And that hit me, and I thought, oh, I can start to cook on an idea here. So what I did was, I canned all 3 programs. I said, we're getting rid of all of them, and we're creating a singular program that we're just calling strictly electrical technology. So we now have, instead of 3 programs, or even 4 if we were to grow it, we have only 1 program, an AAS degree in electrical technology. And within that electrical technology program, we have created tracks of specialization, focus tracks within that program. And so the way this works is, all the students who are electrical technology students, freshman year, they all take exactly the same courses. There's a common core of freshman courses. Sophomore year, this guy says, you know what? I want to go industrial electrical. This guy says, I want to go instrumentation and process control. That's how I salvaged electronics technology. We're going to do instrumentation and process control. I want to do machinery maintenance, and other people say, I want to do renewable energy technology. So sophomore year, there's still some overlap in the core courses, but they have at least 4 distinct courses in each of those tracks, which differentiate them from the others. When they're done, here's the key, and this is the solution to the chicken and the egg. When they're done with an AAS degree in electrical technology, they are still qualified for an entry-level position in almost any venue of electrical technology. But the guys who have had the focus track in renewable energy have some real hands-on skills in their back pocket, plus several third-party certifications, which, as the jobs start to develop, these guys can be first in line and say, hey, I'm here, I'm ready, and I'm in your face, dude. I want this job. So that's how we have crafted our program. It's not a separate program by itself, it's embedded in the electrical technology program. Now, one of the things that helped make this happen is the National Science Foundation. I put in a proposal to the NSF explaining my thinking with this singular program with focus tracks, setting up students so that they can get employment in other realms, would be prepared when the renewable energy jobs open up, and NSF liked it. So they didn't give me a big grant, but they gave me $150,000 to get started. Of that $150,000, they allowed me to spend $30,000 on lab hardware. Now, I looked around. I'm going to put another bookmark here, and I'm going to rant a little bit. There are a lot of programs around the country that are going to companies like LabVolt. LabVolt, I'm sure, is a wonderful manufacturer. I'm sure, in addition to profit for their stockholders, they have service to the community in mind. But they make a solar trainer. It's a roll-around cart that has one PV module on it. It has one tiny little battery. It has one little toy inverter. It has a little toy charge controller. And it's got a whole box full of cords with banana plugs on the end. And the student comes up, oh, let's plug this into that little hole, and let's plug this into that little hole. And when they're done, what does the student know how to do? Take a little plug and plug it in a little hole. You know, wow, that is really technician training at its finest. And that stinking thing costs $17,000 or more. For $17,000, I can build 2 trainers that will give students much more flexibility and much more hands-on practical experience. And I've got a little video in here as we get to it to show you students in the lab actually doing the thing. Now, I also got lucky because after I got the $150,000 from NSF, I managed to get $176,000 from Illinois Clean Energy Community Foundation and $400,000 from the U.S. Department of Education, all of which gets to go towards toys. So we've been doing a lot of stuff with equipment and having a good time doing it. So our RE Focus track consists of 4 new courses. The first one is Survey of Renewable Energy Technology. This course is open to anybody and everybody in the community. It starts off talking about the old divide theory. How many people have ever heard of the old divide theory before? How many people have ever heard of old divide gorge? The Leakeys, Lucy, discovered in old divide gorge umpteen bazillion years ago. And the old divide theory is this, that humanity started in the old divide gorge. And if you were to graph human energy conversions aimed toward making our life easier and more comfortable, the graph starts in old divide and goes like this. And it keeps going like this, and it keeps going like this, and it keeps going like this. The Lunar Society of Birmingham meeting, where James Watt met the guy who invented the cannonball, all of a sudden the steam engine became practical, and you start to see that graph go up like this. Until you hit the late 1800s to the early 1900s, when Rockefeller started using petroleum for fuel, and all of a sudden you see the graph go like this. And the graph goes up and it peaks, and it's right up at the peak right now. Now what the old divide theory says is, it buys into the premise that peak oil is a real thing. We have built the entire infrastructure for our modern civilization on cheap, easy, available, liquid crude petroleum, and it's going away. So what's going to happen? That graph is going to go like this, and then we're going to go like this, and we're going to end up right where we started, at a primitive level like it looked like gorge. That's the old divide theory. So I start off like that, and I really try to scare the living crap out of them, just to give them the idea that we've got some serious situations on our hand. And then we make a big point of talking about what the heck is energy anyway. That was something Nick pointed out was important. And we talk about the laws of thermodynamics and what is energy conversion. Like, that thing's not using electricity, neither is that it's converting electrical energy into light energy. And where's the electrical energy come from? Oh, there's some thing over there called a generator that converts the mechanical energy into electrical energy. And, well, where'd the mechanical energy come from? Oh, some guy burned some coal to turn chemical energy into heat energy, and it goes on and on and on like that. And you see that it all goes around and around and around, and it comes out here, but no energy was created, no energy was destroyed. It was just converted or transported from one place to another. We put a big emphasis on that, and once they have those concepts in their head, we go through solar thermal, solar photovoltaic, we go through wind generators, hydroelectric, the whole thing into alternate transportation, and that sets the stage for the next 3 courses. The next 3 courses are all hands-on, and as MREA has done, focused on NAPCEP competencies. We have a course in solar thermal technology, which is going on right now. Solar photovoltaic technology, which will be offered again in the spring semester, and small wind energy technology, which, oh my gosh, I'm teaching that for the first time right now. Developing these courses from scratch is sometimes a nightmare, but we are starting next week. I'm putting the foundation in for a small wind generator that the students are going to build from the ground up on campus. So that's what I mean by hands-on. So what does the RE graduate get? The person who goes through our electrical technology program with the renewable energy emphasis, they get that degree and they get the master's certificate. And like I said before, they are qualified for entry-level positions, and they've got a few skills that others don't have. We are also offering third-party certification opportunities to our students. We are an NAPCEP-approved PV entry-level provider. Now, just this last year, our first group of PV students, we just got our approval last year, our first group of PV students took the entry-level exam. 50% passed. And everybody knows, well, that's nothing right. Until you talk to people at NAPCEP and you find out that, you know what, there are too many schools that have a 0% pass rate. And there are some of the good joint apprenticeship training programs where they're up to 60 to 65 and 70% pass rate. So I thought for the first time out of the chute to get a 50% pass rate would have been pretty doggone good. So I feel proud about that. I'm going to add myself. So hopefully it'll be better next time. The one thing that disappointed me about this is that NAPCEP does not share any kind of an item analysis on the test. It's like I had no way to assess myself. What did they miss? Where do I need to put more emphasis so that they can perform better on the test? I argued with them. I offered them bribes. I did all kinds of things, and they would not give me the information. So I had to pump my students, and they said, even though they complained about it at the time, after after the fact, they said, oh, we wish we would have done more calculations in class. But you guys kept complaining. Oh, you were right, Mr. Wilhelm, we should have done more calculations in class. So that's the best I could do on that. Also, we do have this small wind course. We're approved as a Scala tower safety and tower rescue provider and testing center. And this is the first, yeah, that's me. Yeah, at the MREA, at their tower safety course. And yeah, that's awesome. I showed that to my kids, my 36-year-old son. I said, come on, you little man, get up. So the 60-year-old man's up there, you can do that. Anyway, this Scala certification is a good thing. And what's kind of turning out with our small wind course is that even though it's focused on small wind, truthfully, when a student gets through the program, they've got almost exactly the same training as people who are going through utility scale programs are. They've got one thing that the utility scale guys don't, that's they've actually built a small wind generator by the time they get out. So we do offer these third-party certifications, and I am looking for more. We try to teach our students what quality workmanship means. We try to stay on top of what are the current developments and what are best practices. And we focus on National Electric Code requirements. What are the things you really need to do to get this exactly right? And safety, safety, safety. This is a picture of one of our first generation of lab stations. The new ones are nicely colored. We painted them pastels. I have a pink one, and that's for the boys that are bad. They have to use the pink station. But what this is, and this is the thinking behind my design here, is everything in this lab station is full-size, real-world stuff, except for the batteries and the PV modules. The reason is, if I were to use 8 200-watt modules, I could barely fit one station in the room, but the fact of the matter is, the inverters, the charge controllers, all the electronics are voltage controlled. They're voltage controlled, they're not power controlled. So with these 8 small modules, the students can, with their little key on the locking MC connectors, they can reconfigure this for 12 volts, 24 volts, 48 volts for battery systems, or tie it into one large series string for a utility interactive system. So they've got lots of flexibility there. But look at what it's mounted on. This is real Uteract solar mount rails. And I'm telling you, the first time you go to put this stuff up, they get their L feet in, they drill their pilot holes, they get the rails up there, and then they got these small modules, and I say, quality workmanship, I want to look down that thing with a laser and see a straight line. And you got 2 guys trying to put this up. Well, this one is cocked this way, that one's cocked that way, that one's cocked like this. And after they redo it about 3 or 4 times, and one of them's ready to slug the other one, I come in with a 2x4 and I hold it up underneath and I say, okay, tighten them up. And it's things like that that really teach them what needs to be done in the field. And these guys are not doing plug and play. These guys have reels of wire on a wire spool. They're pulling wire off the reel. They're bending conduit. They have to decide where to mount this stuff on the rack. And they have to arrange it so that it's going to all fit and flow and they don't have conduit tied in pretzel knots. And they start with the simplest of configurations. Now, I didn't get to do it last time, but we will be doing it this spring. We're getting some DC pumps. We're going to start with just direct drive. Put the array up, direct drive a pump through a linear current booster. Then once that's done, leave the array up, change the voltage now, reconfigure the array. Now we're going to do a simple utility interactive system. So they have to mount on their panel on the other side. They have to put up a 100 amp GE distribution panel. They have to put up their utility interactive inverter. They have to put their lockout, tagout, disconnect in there for the utility company. Set everything up and we make it work. We plug it in and we make the thing work as a utility interactive system. Once that one's done, then we go, we add batteries. And we put in a midnight solar e-panel, up back charge controllers, up back inverters. And they add on and they abandon the utility interactive inverter, which is PVP 1100 over here. And now we do the battery-based system. And at the end of the semester, we kind of bring everything together and create a bimodal system, a battery-based system, which can also do net metering. And then if we have time, I really want to start playing with AC coupling, where I can get the 2 inverters to talk to each other, fool the utility interactive inverter into thinking that the battery-based inverter is Commonwealth Edison. So this is the kind of stuff we have in the lab. We cap the course right now at 16 students. Every student seat has its own computer. So we can get online and we can look information up on the internet. There are lots of resources available on the internet, calculators and things like that, PV blocks and other things that they all have instant access to. At the end of the semester, the goal always is to do a capstone project. So they've done all this stuff with the small modules in-house in groups of 2 and 3. At the end of the semester, now the whole class teams up together and creates one permanently installed utility interactive system on campus. So unfortunately, we ran out of time last spring, so I'm going to have my lab students work on this one yet this year. We've got a 1 kW system with the small microinverters, and this is the one that was put up the year before, ballasted pan on the roof of the auto shop. And so the students not only get to get their hands on the little stuff, but now they get to put up a real system that stays in place. Now what I'd like to do is show you, if you don't mind, just a little 3-minute video to give you a glimpse inside the classroom. Some of the other things that, before you started, Jen, some of the other things that I do in the PV course is the students, I want them to keep a portfolio throughout the semester. In the portfolio, they're going to keep all the product literature of all the equipment that they've worked with. I want them to take pictures of the things that they've done in lab and stick those into their portfolio so they can show a prospective employer, hey, look what I've done, look what I can do. And then they have to take, every time they build a system, they have to go through the National Electric Code book and they have to justify everything they've done in lab with a little tag that says 690.this or 690.that. And what I did several times through the course of the semester is I'd walk in the lab like this, and I'd whip out a video camera and put it in their face and put them on the hot seat. And you'll see them fumble and blah, 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 and I hit them with questions. But it really helps them learn this stuff very well. So by the time they're done, they've been hammered with me on the video camera. They've been beat up putting together their portfolio, and they've really dug into the National Electric Code requirement.
All right. Keep going. Let's go to the breaker.
Let's get these 3 mugs in here.
Get in here, Dan.
Chuck and Ian and Dan. Where's Dan at?
Dan.
Okay, Dan.
This is outside of the house, the roof. We've got the solar panel. We're going to apply the sun here in a second.
Now you said solar panel. Where's the solar panel?
This is on. This is the array.
Okay, the whole thing's an array.
This is array.
Do I have a solar panel up there?
This is the one panel. This is the second.
Very
panel.
good. Very good. Okay. Now that wire you're holding on to there, that's going through lugs, and it's going down to a
Comes down here.
rod right there. That's good.
It's 8 feet in the ground. It's a 5-base rod.
That's good.
It's been measured and tested.
Yep, that's good. Now, so now the secondary of the ComEd transformer is connected to our distribution panel. Turn on the main breaker first, which is the top 15 amp. There's our main breaker. Now turn on your solar point of interconnection. Now we want to go to the main disconnect on the inverter and turn it on. That's a combination AC-DC disconnect. And look what we have. We have a red light.
We got a red light.
Now that red light is telling us
Stand by.
we're on standby, which means we don't have 150 volts open circuit on the PV side to turn it on.
Sun.
Not enough sun. So now we want to turn the sun on. Each one 3 clicks. There you go.
Sun's coming up.
Sun's coming up, and when we get up to 150 volts open circuit, now do we have a green light? And we are
290, 300 seconds.
we're on.
Counting.
Okay, and what's our open circuit voltage?
118 volts.
That's AC. What's
159.
159? So good. We're over our 150 open circuit voltage on the DC side required to turn on the inverter. No, not lucky. It was designed that way. Okay, Jeff, we've got your completed utility interactive PV power system here, and you have lots of little tags on your array out here on the front. Now down here you've got a little box where that MC cable is going, and that's labeled 690.34, and you've got a label on there. What's that about inside that box? Transition. We're transitioning from the USE MC cable to what?
THWN-2. Yep, THWN-2. And how did you make that transition inside that box?
With those 90°C.
Yep, we've got special connectors that are 90°C, and Chuck, looks like Chuck's bringing one over for us to see. So we used these special connectors that,
You'll loosen up the set screw here
yep,
on both of these,
yep,
and you'll slide the wires in there, one and one to the other one. These are not isolated.
so you put the USE MC in one and the THWN2 in the other,
one.
and so you
Torque
got
them down.
one of those for your positive leg and one for your
For the
negative
negative.
leg. That's good. Okay. And Chuck, when are you going to buy one of these to put on your house?
Well, I'll tell you what, if I had an extra 10 grand, I'd have it.
I hear you.
I'd have you and Ian and Dan over.
Yeah.
Steve Bell, National Technical Support Manager for Sunwise Technology. Sunwise is not the largest renewable energy hardware distributor in the country, but they're certainly the most respected and one of the oldest. And Steve has been with them as their National Technical Service Manager for quite a few years. He's the guy that answers all the questions on the phone, got a phone in his ear all day long, and he has had the good fortune of being required to take every kind of training under the sun from every manufacturer on the planet. If you want to know anything about solar PV, Steve is the guy to talk to. Highly respected. John Haney, also one of the 11 NABCEP certified solar PV installers here in Illinois, happens to live in the first straw bale house constructed in Illinois. He lives with, actually, all these guys live with either PV, solar, hot water, wind energy, or some combination of those. John happens to have all three on his house, and he is the North American Technical Support Manager for Trina Solar. Trina is a large Chinese manufacturer of crystal and PV modules, and they swear they're going to be the first one to hit the dollar a watt mark on a regular routine basis. And Pete Shield he manages the hydroelectric plant in Kankakee. He's also one of our adjunct instructors, and Governor Quinn awarded him an Environmental Hero Award for work he's done in the renewable energy field. So we've only had one formal gathering of the group at which, what did we have? We had prime rib and, oh yeah, there was a blizzard that day, but we had prime rib and a nice dessert. So I had to feed them well, but I use these guys, I call them individually when I have questions and need guidance and help. So it's a real good group, helps me stay on top of the latest state of the art, what's going on in the industry, and they always have good ideas, especially Steve Bell. So that's what I had for my presentation.